It was photography. And he divided the class in half. And he got, are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So he divided the class in half. And one half of the class, he says, your entire grade will be dependent on one photo that you submit at the end of the semester. And the other class, he goes, your grade will be if you submit 100 photos. So it doesn't matter if they're quality or not, but you have to submit 100 photos during the semester. The other one had to do just one photo.
Yep.
And the group that had to do 100 had much better photos than the people that only had to do one photo, is because they tried a bunch of different things. But you would think to be like, if you just spend 6 months creating the most perfect photo, and the other person was like, oh, I just have to crank out 100 photos. Well, the person that cranks out 100 photos on average will have a better photo than the person who focuses on one special photo.
Yeah.
Because
especially at the very beginning, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah, but like 10 years in, maybe it's different, right? Where once you've mastered your craft, and that's you
I know
making
it's
your
just
masterpiece instead of it being like, how much can I make in a day? How many can I make in a day? So
I know this is like that's like a symbolism for other things, but it of course reminds me of actually doing wedding photography. And one of the telltale signs of a beginner wedding photographer, aka me at the beginning, you take a bazillion pictures during a wedding, and then it takes you forever to edit because you're like, okay, I'll take 20 and then one of these will be good, instead of being like, I know exactly how to take like the picture. I don't have to take that many to get the pictures I want.
well, it's like the first kiss, right? A lot of photographers will just hold down their button for the camera, and it's like, and you're like, cool, now I have like, because they'll take like, what, 30 frames a second now? They're so fast. Now I have 400 shots that are almost the same, and now I have to pick one that's right.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
the editing process, the
insane,
culling process after that.
Yeah.
But no, for sure. I mean, I think that's especially true
for getting better
for
at something.
learning
Yeah.
and continuing.
agreed.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Nomadicare show. In this show, we have 2 great questions. Question number 1 is all about how you should be getting paid. Should you be making more money for each contract as you get more experience? And should you make less money if you're a new grad or a new traveler? Find out on that question. And then question number 2 is all about what to do if your recruiter is ghosting you. Can you get a new recruiter from that company? Should you switch to a brand new company? What's the best way to move forward? If you're listening to this on a podcast, follow. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And here we go.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
First question comes from Alyssa on Facebook, and Alyssa asks, is it normal to take less for a contract than what you were previously making before? My recruiter did tell me it is normal that when you're traveling to sometimes take less.
Cool. Thanks for the question. So your recruiter is actually completely correct. Yes. It is very normal for your pay to fluctuate. Sometimes it'll be higher. Sometimes it will be lower. What it is not dependent on is your experience or how long you've been traveling. What it is dependent on is just purely what is that facility paying for the jobs. We'll just quickly do big picture. The way we get paid as travelers is through the bill rate. The bill rate is what the facility or the hospital is paying the staffing agency for every hour we work. That bill rate has to be divided between the staffing agency to run their business and make profits, and then we get a pay package from that same bill rate. Like, for example, if you're traveling to San Francisco, the bill rates are very high in San Francisco. You are going to get paid more, and you're also going to pay more to live there. Then if you go to North Carolina or something like that, the bill rates are going to be less than that. So you'll get paid less. So it depends on the location. It also just literally depends on the facility. There could be hospitals across the street from each other or across town that have different bill rates. And so you're going to be paid based on what the facility is willing to pay to have a traveler come in.
Totally.
That means that a new grad can actually get paid amazing money, way more than someone with a ton of experience, because they just happened to hit it right at the time when the supply and demand was that they had to pay a higher bill rate to attract anybody. So we can remember during COVID, supply and demand had it where there were not enough nurses, not enough people to work, and tons of jobs. And so with that, the bill rates went super high. And nurses in particular made a ton of money. Therapists at the beginning had no jobs at all because the outpatient services were canceled during that time. And then towards the end of the pandemic, when all of those elective surgeries came back, suddenly the supply and demand switched, and the PTs and the SLPs and the OTs were getting paid higher. And so it's more of a fluctuation based on supply and demand of how many people they can find to work for a certain amount of money. It's not dependent on how many contracts have I taken. I should get a raise each time, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, travel healthcare is a marketplace, right? There's buyers and sellers, and prices fluctuate all the time. And to everything that you just said, right, the supply and demand, the location, it's totally dependent versus a normal career path. You like think like the more I work, I should get a raise in the next time. And you should, right? That's how you make money is you progress throughout your career and you get a raise, you get a raise. Travel healthcare is a marketplace, right? So depending on all the factors that you just said, your pay can be completely different on your next assignment.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that I'll add to this that's interesting is that a lot of times as new grads, recruiters will tell the new grad, because you're a new grad, we can't pay you as much. The pay is not as high. There is some truth and some lie to that. So on one hand, the bill rate is the bill rate. And so if them as a company are holding money back so they can keep more because they feel like you're either riskier or they can just get away with it because you're a new grad, that's not right. But there is some truth to it where maybe the facility will actually tell them, I will pay a higher bill rate, but if you bring me a new grad or someone with less experience, I will pay you a lower bill rate. So there is sometimes that it's actually true, especially with direct contracts where there's more negotiation allowed versus VMS jobs that are more of like a set rate for anyone that comes in. So a lot of times it's true, a lot of times it's not true. And I would just, if you're curious, if you're a newer traveler, just ask your recruiter straight up. Be like, why is it different? Is the bill rate different? Is there a reason? Because typically in travel healthcare, we all get paid based on the bill rate, not based on our experience. And even by asking that question, the recruiter will realize, oh, this person understands the industry. I better have a good explanation why I'm telling them that they have to get paid less.
Yeah, and you can actually double check it too. We have a really cool tool called the pay comparison tool, and you go to nomadicare.com/compare, and you can actually put in an offer that you receive from a recruiter, the location, the setting that it's in, and you can see how it compares. And so it's an easy way, even if you're taking less money on your next assignment, you can see if you're still getting paid fair based on the supply, demand, location, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
Yep.
You literally just put it in and it'll tell you, oh, you're getting paid 13% more than the average. Oh, you're getting paid 7% less than the average. And it'll give you a good ballpark.
Yeah, and you can take that data back to your recruiter and be like, hey, I'm actually getting paid 5% below the average. What can we do to at least get me to average pay for this location, for my specialty, all that stuff?
Yeah.
And I mean, 5% could be hundreds of dollars a week times 13 weeks. This is an extra $1,000 by just using the tool on our website and then talking to your recruiter.
Totally.
So,
it gives you data to go back to your recruiter. And that tool is real time, meaning it's not just like we put it in once because the market changes.
Yeah.
What the rates were 6 months ago are different than they are today.
Great
and
point.
the tool keeps up with the real trends today.
Awesome. Great question.
Yeah, thank you.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Na 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 na.
Next question comes from Anonymous in our Facebook group. Again.
Wow.
Yeah, they're
Anonymous is really clueless.
Yeah.
They ask so many questions.
I look at it and I think Anonymous is one of our super fans. Yes. Yeah. Anonymous is a super fan.
Yeah.
Jacob, be honest. These are your questions, aren't they?
No, but it's an incredible idea to pipe my own questions. This one comes from Anonymous. Why is Jacob the best host on the Nomadicare show? I mean, come on. Yeah. Anonymous asks, I started working with a recruiter and he ghosted me. Is this typical? I submitted all my documentation and completed the skills checklist. Can I request a new recruiter or should I just move on to another company?
Okay, first of all, you submitted your skills checklist, all your paperwork. That recruiter
Drop in the bag.
is so lame. It is so hard to get a traveler to give a skills checklist and all of their paperwork. So first of all, you're a dream traveler, and yes, you should have a recruiter that is equally as good to you. So I can't believe they would get all that paperwork in and ghost you.
Okay, we say drop the bag. We're harsh on this recruiter. Recruiters are people too, right? Something could have happened. They could have had an emergency. They left. They have a poor follow-up. I don't want to bash recruiters on this show, but yes, they drop in the bag.
Yeah, I'm more saying good job, traveler.
Oh yeah, this traveler's amazing.
Yeah, getting all the paperwork in. Yeah, there's a few things you can do. First, expectations. How long did they ghost you for? Sometimes travelers have the expectation that, you turn a skills checklist in, they should be calling you within the hour. What's going on? Really, recruiters have a turnaround time of typically same day if you're actually actively submitting to jobs, you're waiting for interviews.
If you're in like a
that
two-way
stage
conversation.
of it. Yeah, and you guys already have kind of a relationship built, especially if you're texting. Texting is quick these days, and it's a very common way for quicker response time with recruiters than when you have to talk on the phone, which is harder. When you're at the beginning stages of the relationship with the recruiter, maybe they'll call you the next day. Still really normal and not crazy. But if they're ghosting you for honestly more than 24 hours, that is a long time for a recruiter. But it could be one of these things. They're out of the office and you didn't realize it. They're on vacation. Something happened with their child. Because like Jacob was saying, like they are human and their jobs are tough. A lot of times they're expected to work over the weekends and into the evenings. And people can be really hard on them when they even miss like a day or two of getting back to travelers.
And they're working with dozens of people at any given time. Like really deeply, dozens of people at any given time, hundreds of people at a surface level. And then they probably have just like thousands of like traveler leads coming through their company, right?
Yeah. First thing I would check out is expectations. So expectations is how long are you expecting it to take for the recruiter to get back to you before you're calling it ghosting. 24 hours is a reasonable time for a recruiter to get back to somebody. If it's urgent, very urgent, you guys are supposed to submit that day and they're not getting back to you, that's weird. That's strange. And they should always have a backup recruiter you can go to because that's more of the fast-paced time. And even maybe up to 2 days is acceptable in parts where it's not urgent. You're not submitting right then. You've just got some questions about the industry. You're not going to start traveling for 2 months. That's not crazy at all. So first, just see if your expectations are in line.
Yep.
If they're taking 3 days, 4 days to get back to you, there are a lot of recruiters who are much quicker at response time. Okay, I could switch recruiters and have a better experience where recruiters are getting back to me faster.
Yeah.
And so you sound like a great traveler. You got your paperwork in. I don't know the whole story, how long it took or anything like that.
What does ghosted mean? Is ghosted 3 days or is this 3 weeks and I haven't heard from this person?
But let's just make the assumption they really did ghost you and you've reached out to them several times as
with
well.
no response back.
And no response back. And I guess that's the other caveat. Remembering it's a two-way relationship. Sometimes travelers feel like I should be able to kick back. The recruiter should call me multiple times. And then if I decide to text them, they should text right back. Recruiters are insanely busy job, a very hard job, especially once they get going and have a big desk. So I think being a proactive traveler only serves us. So did you reach out to them once and they never heard back? Or did you reach out a few times and give them a little bit of that like benefit of the doubt at the beginning? Okay, so let's say they ghosted you, they are not writing you back and you tried. Then I would say for sure, get a new recruiter, but that doesn't mean you need to go to a new company. There's 2 levels to figuring out who you should work with. Level 1 is you've got to be with the right company. Different companies have access to different jobs. So if you're trying to get to a certain region, or let's say you are a traveler who wants outpatient only, or schools only, or you really love Oregon, there are certain companies that are just amazing at those specific kind of jobs that other companies don't have.
Totally.
So if one recruiter inside that company is suddenly not talking to you, you be doing yourself a disservice to leave that whole company and all the access to jobs they have to go to another company because one recruiter didn't talk to you, because that's just one recruiter. So they're really not a good fit. Great. Don't leave the good company if that's a company you want to stick with. You can simply ask for a new recruiter. You can call into the main desk and say, hey, this is a traveler. Can I talk to the recruiter manager? I just have a question. And they'll usually connect you right away. And you can say, hey, I would love to work with your company. And I really would like to work with a brand new recruiter.
Yeah, fresh start.
Now, fresh start. And just be friendly about it. No, non-confrontational, no big deal. It happens. And maybe a lot of times the recruiter manager's first line of defense is, hey, why don't we try to reconnect you? Why don't we give it a fresh start? I'll talk to them. And the reason for that is because it can be competitive inside of staffing agencies. And there can be a bit of awkwardness when one recruiter takes another recruiter's traveler, depending on how deep that relationship already was. And the recruiter managers know this, and they know they're taking away potential commission, money from one recruiter and giving it to another. So sometimes their first thing is, can we do something to make it better? Now, if you have decided, no, I really want a new recruiter, do not feel bad about that and expect a little bit of pushback. That's normal. And you can just stick to your guns and say, nope, I really want a new one. I'll stay with your company. I want to work with your company. I don't want to work it out. I'd like a new one. And then they'll typically be like, okay, great. And if you know for sure what you're looking for in a recruiter, tell them so they can give you that type of recruiter. Say, I want someone who has time. I want someone who will write back within 24 hours. That is the most important to me.
Yeah.
And so that way they can communicate that. And then when you meet that new recruiter, you can also start it that way. Be like, I'm so excited to work with you. I'm a great traveler. I get my paperwork in. I want a recruiter who will get back to me within one day. Is this good for us? Is that your style? And just make sure.
Yeah.
And then, you can move forward and still have that great company.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then side note, we at Nomadicare, we are the recruiter matchmakers of the industry. So there's two things to know about that. One, sometimes it's hard to know if you're with the company that has those really cool outpatient jobs or school jobs or jobs in Oregon, etc. The unique jobs. We will match you to the right company for your goals. So you can do that on nomadicare.com/match. But then also, if you get matched by us, we have all of our recruiters are vetted. We hold them accountable. They're really great recruiters. But let's say you get matched and it wasn't a click for you. You didn't love that person, but you still need that company. We take the awkwardness away. You don't have to go through the manager. You literally just go through us and we rematch you to a different recruiter inside that company, and you don't have to deal with the awkwardness. We just write them and it's really no big deal. It happens and it's not a big deal. So you don't have to be super stressed about it if you want to switch. Yeah.
Cool. Well,
love the question.
Great question.
Thank you, Anonymous.
Thanks so much for joining us on this episode. If you made it to the end, the question of the day today is, what is your favorite fast food? For me, Cane's Chicken.
I'm definitely a Chipotle guy.
Daniel?
In-N-Out Burger.
Ooh.
All right. Curveball.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Cool. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe and so you can see future episodes. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, you can follow so you can also see new episodes. And we will see you next time for episode 6.
All right. See ya.
Nice to meet you, hello. Never been here before, but I feel like I'm home. Yeah, 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 yeah. Put my feet on the road, meet me over the coast. We got places to go.